My name is Mike. This is the Hot Seat. Folks, this one can be really disturbing. I don't make the news. I just send it out there. And I got a tip from a good friend of mine, thank you Hollywood, on this issue. And that is, can there be a Sandusky, Santorum connection? And what I mean by that is, could Rick Santorum and Sandusky go back a little ways in this child pedophilia situation that we have going? There's a DC investigative reporter, well-published author who has been investigating any possible relationship between Rick Santorum and accused pedophile coach Jerry Sandusky and his 2 Mile charity. Paterno hired George Bush Sr.'s D.C. Iran-Contra attorney, Joe Cedric Solers. Iran-Contra was happening during that time the White House prostitution scandal, this was under, of course, George Bush I, was developing. Penn State has hired a Santorum colleague in the Israel Project, Lanny Davis, and former FBI Director Louis Freeh to represent the university. It's fascinating that these DC guys are so interested in Penn State. Maybe you people should pay attention as well. Here's what we know about the Washington child sex ring cover-up. On June 29, 1989, the Washington Post published the following story. Homosexual prostitution inquiry ensnares VIPs with Reagan Bush call boys to midnight tour of the White House. Craig J. Spence arranged at least 4 midnight tours of the White House during June 29, 1988, on which he took with him a 15-year-old boy he falsely passed off as his son. The story involves children from orphanages in Nebraska being flown around the U.S. by top Republican officials in order to engage in child sex orgies with America's ruling elite. It's a fact that during the 80s, child sexual services were provided by top Republican officials to key bureaucrats and diplomats, but most importantly, there was a chilling proximity of all these events and personalities to the President of the United States at the time, George Herbert Walker Bush. There have been victims who claim that the President himself engaged in the activities, and of course, mainstream media quelched this as quickly as they could. I don't remember hearing about this. There are victims, again, who engage in these activities with the President. It's a tale of child sex, murder, espionage, blackmail, and huge payoffs. All the players involved, from the White House to the CIA to the media barons to the Republican elite, right down to the orphanages where they procured their victims. And again, Sandusky has this 2 Mile charity deal, and apparently he took little boys with him on many of his trips. The story was the second biggest scandal of the 80s, which was completely obliterated by the Bush White House, a complete coordinated blackout by the ruling elite in cooperation with the American television networks. The biggest scandal being the Bush involvement in the attempted assassination of President Reagan. Since the elite who own the television networks in America are the same elite who feast off the carcass of the American population, this was easily quelched. Former Republican Senator John DeCamp was involved in the production of a documentary called Conspiracy of Silence, which was to air May 3, 1994 on the Discovery Channel. However, at the last minute before the airing, there was a massive effort from key Washington politicians who were implicated in the scandal to exert pressure on the channel to threaten the TV cable industry with restrictive legislation if the documentary was aired. Almost immediately, the rights to the documentary were purchased by unknown persons who had ordered all copies destroyed. Folks, this is very disturbing because, Rick Santorum to me is kind of a flaky guy to begin with. There's stories that he brought his dead baby home and played with it with his living children, and You know, these evangelical guys have always been a little wacky. And if there is some connection with him and Sandusky, well, folks, that is a problem. So, this is something I will continue to look at. It's something I will be investigating. Beware, folks, of sheep in wolves' clothing. Or should I say wolves in sheep clothing, that is. My name is Mike. This is The Hot Seat.